The worst thing that can happen to you in life is to become a philosopher. And I mean that literally. In the game of life, the worst thing that could happen to you was to become a philosopher. It was worse than losing. If you became a philosopher, you were stuck at this point on the board, unable to participate in the game of life any longer, and you just had to wait here until everyone else finished the game of life without you. This terrified me as a kid. I was like, what the hell is a philosopher? And how do I avoid this in real life? Since this was my grandma's game, I'd ask her, what does it mean to be a philosopher? And she'd explain it to me, but I wasn't even in school yet, so I didn't understand, and that made this even scarier. I thought philosopher was like some sort of disease that you could catch, and one day in the middle of the night you might wake up like, damn it! I'm a philosopher. And this was my first experience with the fact that our society hates philosophy. We've always hated philosophy. Socrates, who was the guy that basically started Western philosophy, was killed by his own people because they couldn't stand him doing philosophy anymore. Think about that. They would rather kill this man than let him continue doing philosophy. And we still hate philosophy. Listen to Jim Holt try to start his TED Talk with a blatantly philosophical question.
Why does the universe exist? Why is there a world? Okay, all right. This is a cosmic mystery. Be solemn. Why is there a world? Why are we in it?
He threw some of philosophy's best stuff at these people and they just laughed at him. And it's not just non-philosophers that hate philosophy, even philosophers hate philosophy. Wittgenstein, who was arguably the 20th century's most influential philosopher, spent most of his life telling people to stop doing philosophy and go do something useful. He said his most important result was the one that allowed him to stop doing philosophy whenever he wanted to. But Wittgenstein lied. He couldn't stop doing philosophy. Even though he devoted his life to charting a course to help other people stop doing philosophy, his mind was already too conditioned by the philosophical disease to escape the intellectual cul-de-sac that it is. So he wandered around in this scholastic quicksand like some sort of philosophical Moses who led his people to the promised land but couldn't enter himself. His later work is akin to him placing warning signs in this philosophical desert wherever he could so that passers-by might know that they're on the wrong track and they should get back to life as soon as they can. But I want to answer the question that I've been wondering about since I was a little kid. What is wrong with philosophy? And to answer that question, we should define what we mean by philosophy. But that demonstrates the danger of philosophy because to even ask the question is to risk engaging in the act of. Now, I'm going to give a definition of philosophy, but I don't think I should be called a philosopher. Any more than firemen who make a controlled burn around a forest fire should be called arsonists just because they lit a flame. The intended effect of the controlled burn was to prevent the spread of more fire. And the intended effect of my definition of philosophy will be to prevent the spread of more philosophy. And that is essentially the answer to the question of what's wrong with philosophy. Because when philosophy is being the intellectual disease that is philosophy, it's trying to say things that are true for the sake of saying things that are true, with little to no regard of the use of these statements or the effect of these statements on actual people, and almost definitely not any consideration of how they might possibly make life better. In other words, philosophy at its worst would criticize this video for not being true in any absolute, infallible, incorrigible, complete way. And it certainly wouldn't give a damn whether these statements had any effect on you watching right now or whether they made your life any better at all. But that's what I care about, is whether these statements are having an effect on you, so that hopefully they might help you. Because I care very little whether these statements are considered true. I just care about putting up another warning sign in the intellectual wilderness, because even though Wittgenstein lied, he was right. There is a way out. But you've got to be careful, because the more time you spend up here, the more your mind will adjust to the terrain, and the harder you will find it to ever leave. In other words, upon hearing someone say that the sky is blue, you will not look up and enjoy the unexplainable experience that is the blue sky. You will wonder whether by sky they mean your perception of the sky or the gas molecules that make up the sky. And you might wonder whether those two things are even any different at all. Or when, if we start removing one gas molecule at a time, does does this thing that we're putting in the category of sky stop fitting into the category of sky and start fitting into the category of just being gas molecules? Or what we mean by blue, do we just mean the number that represents the frequency or the perception that we experience? And when does this color blue stop being blue and start being violet? And the philosophical disease takes over, infecting its host like a virus and multiplying until it takes over. Now, I think most people know deep down that the act of philosophy trying to divorce our statements from any use of them or effect on actual life is a perversion of our language. They possess a natural intellectual burn zone that allows them to enjoy the glow of philosophy, laugh at it, and then move on with their lives. But some people's intellectual dispositions are such that the smallest spark here might send this fire out of control, that the desire for absolute, infallible, incorrigible truth just breeds more desire for absolute, incorrigible truth. And roughly speaking, you start to fool yourself into thinking that the importance of a statement is hidden somewhere inside the statement, and so you go looking for it, running yourself into circles and forgetting why you started. But I'm not just picking on what we call philosophy. This perversion of language can be found everywhere. From physics to politics, from religion to atheism, the desire to say something absolutely true with no regard to its use or effect on life is strong. But I'm not saying you should never engage in philosophy. If you can do philosophy and make life better somehow, you should do it. And if you can do philosophy and enjoy it, by all means, philosophy is poetry. That is beautiful. And I'm certainly not trying to say something that's true. I'm just making a video that hopefully has the effect of acting as a philosophical controlled burn for those that need it. Because I've got a confession to make. Even with all the warning signs, I've spent way too much time up here than I'd like to admit, but Wittgenstein helped me out, and I'm grateful for that. So no matter what brand of philosophy you're practicing or what truth you're seeking, take a break. Come out here. Help us make life better. We need you.